Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Falcons, the Men of North Catholic, and I'm joined by
Frank Kosmaceski.
what class you graduate from, Frank?
I was class of 65.
65. Let's take us back in time, 1965. What's the vibe like at North Catholic?
A well-disciplined school, that's for sure. Um, Everybody's pretty happy, I think. A lot of spirit going on in the school. Um, I the thing I notice now that is different than when I was there. I was there a few years ago. Fitzsimmons had asked me to speak to the career day, and about people going into music or whatever. And I spoke there, and I noticed I think the guys were wearing sweaters, and I thought, wow, a big difference from when coat and tie days when I was there, and it had to be tight. They would make sure, it was up.
Yeah, I think the sweaters gave the school a good look rather than, suit jackets when we were there. I don't know. You guys had suit jackets as well, I'm assuming?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think the sweaters gave it a nice little touch.
Yeah, it gave it some identity anyway, at least, it was sort of a uniform. Yeah.
So let's do a little talk about teachers and oblates. North had a slew of great ton of teachers, oblates. Which would have stood out to you the most?
Fitzsimmons, probably number one. He was very relatable to the students. I thought had a wealth of knowledge. He was a guy, especially for me, after I was out of high school for a year, and I decided I better do something and go to college rather than go into the Army at that point. He was the one to help me, take the SATs and expedite the application, and he was really a big help. And then years later, of course, you've heard this before. He was the type of guy. He'd see me years later, and he knew my name, knew the class I was in, and just because I had him for maybe, I don't know, 1 or 2 years, I guess, because I was in the commercial track, and I was very impressed with him. But we had a lot of other good ones. In commercial, I liked Father Cleary. He taught stenography and typing. He was really super. Almost all of them. I can more easily mention those I didn't like, especially. But
Father Cleary, I remember him. If it's the same Father Cleary, when I
yeah,
was at North, I think he was in a guidance room.
yeah, Father Cleary had classes. I think I had him for Spanish, as a matter of fact. Yeah, he was a nice guy too. Father McCone was a really strict disciplinarian. I think that's the only time I had Jug, when he sent the whole class to Jug that day.
I don't even want to know why.
Yeah. I don't know. It was something, I don't remember. It wasn't like a big incident or anything, but, or we just kind of felt the vibe from the class or something. We were a little rowdy. I don't know. But that's one time I remember having Jug and saying, well, yeah, the whole class had it. The whole class. Yeah, the whole class went down. You all go to Jug. He was a piece of work.
So is that the only time you served Jug, or?
Yeah, that I remember. I pretty much did, what I was supposed to do. And then, of course, I had the band and the music. So after school, that was the big thing. Lunchtime, usually have my lessons then. And so it kind of kept me out of trouble, I guess. So I kept busy.
So besides, you said you did band. Did you do any sports or no?
No, I didn't do any sports at all. No, it was all music was my extracurricular activity.
So let's talk about the North Catholic band, because I don't know about 65, but 92, when I was in there in the 90s, let me tell you, man, just doing it like the rallies, the North Frankfurt rally, man, that band can get everybody so pumped. What was it about the North Catholic band, even from in your era? Like, what was it was it the teaching? Was it just the students? Like, what was it that made North Catholic's band so great?
I often wondered about that, because quite a few of the musicians went on to play professionally. And I think it was a little bit of the instruction. We had very good instructors. I mean, going back to just before him, he was there for, I think, a year. The former band director was Ross Wire. He's the fellow who wrote the melody for the alma mater. And after him, we had other music teachers, and they all were, either taught someplace else or they were professional musicians, said they gave you that edge, I guess. Uh, that was part of it. The other thing, I think it was just I don't know, the guys just went into it whole hog. We followed what they said to do, and I think I know up and down everybody enjoyed it. Guys who I know were in the band who haven't played in years look back on that as being what great times. I mean, we were really brothers in that sense, and I know that carried through. It was there before me, and I know it was there even after me. Yeah.
So you mentioned the gentleman. He actually, this gentleman actually wrote our
Ross,
alma mater as we know today.
Yeah, Russ Wire. He was a very accomplished musician in the city. He was the guy that wrote the alma mater that's presently there, and I even got I have to give a shout out to one of my other not classmates, but he graduated before me. Billy Stein, class of '63, and he had sent me some information about it. He said Russ Wire wrote the music, and Father Robert Freeler, I don't remember him, he taught mechanical drawing at North in 1959. And you probably had seen it, I recently had posted from my handbook the words to the North Catholic alma mater, because even at the football game, I noticed you heard a bunch of words, and then all of a sudden it was like, no, sort of like a bit, we kind of skip over the part. And I thought, that's great. And I've gotten such a response on that. My phone's been I did it yesterday, and my phone was ringing all night of people who came back in and said, oh, yeah, this is great. And I think to myself, it's much better, like with your grandkids, if you're going to sing the alma mater that you did, to sing all the words. If you get to a point where, they'll say, hey, Grandpa, you what was that? What are you saying next? So, but those two guys, they wrote the ones. And then I got another email from a gentleman, a North Catholic guy, I believe. And he said there was another alma mater before that. And I wondered about that, since the school started in 28. And here it is 59, and they have another one. But I haven't gotten back or haven't did any research or anybody from that era. I know a fellow who graduated in 47. And I'll have to ask him if he remembers singing an alma mater and what it was like.
So speaking of the alma mater, did you ever find out what inspired the words to the alma mater? Do you know when you knew this gentleman, did he say, what inspired him to write the alma mater the way it is today?
That I don't know. I just know that the words came through. I don't know whether they both collaborated or they had the music first or the words first, the poem. But as far as the words go, I know it was that Father Freeler, a mechanical drawing teacher in 59, who wrote the words, did the words for the alma mater. And they kind of rhyme. And the chorus with the onward, onward is probably the most famous. Everybody knows that. You never forget that one.
Well,
with the there.
A lot of people also forget, when I've always gone to these Northern reunions, everybody always forgets there's a second verse.
Yes.
They think when the first verse is done, that's it. They start clapping like, oh, whoa, it ain't over yet.
That's the best one. Those words are really inspiring about the sunshine of youth and all, Yeah, that's kind of neat. Most of the time it took me a while to learn it, because all the times when I was at North, I was playing it with the band, and that was always something we added. I don't know if we did it at the end of the games all the time, but I want to interject. One of my most vivid memories is in '63 when Kennedy was shot. And of course, we were all let out of school, and then we came back the next day, and the band right away started to do our halftime show for the Thanksgiving game, and it was going to be a tribute to Kennedy. And we wore black armbands over top of the uniform, and I've never heard the football Thanksgiving Day game crowd be completely silent. It was really moving. It was really something. Anybody who was at that game at that time remembers that very vividly. Guys who never even paid attention to the band at all. They knew it there. Nobody went out for sodas or hot dogs or anything.
So what did the uniform? You mentioned a uniform. What did the band uniform? Because I know when we were there, I think they just wore like white shirts, black ties. So you guys wore uniforms back then?
Yeah, we absolutely had uniforms. They had older uniforms my first year. My first year, I just started the instrument, so I wasn't in the marching band. But the second year I was, and that's when second or third year when we got our red and white uniforms. They were really pretty snazzy, and they really stood out on a green field. Red and white really shows up well, and they were more like a military uniform, and white shoes. We had to polish those guys, and that worked out pretty well. That really looked good. I think it was a sharp look, and I have some pictures from the yearbook of.
You have it with you?
Um,
Do you have the book with you?
I do have it with me.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I have to. I mean, I have it now. So I have all 4 years. Believe it or not. One of the weird things when my first year, which would have been the 62 yearbook, the end of my first year, I decided to get the yearbook. And then I got the second and sophomore year, third year, and of course the senior year. So I have all 4 years, which is really nice because I can get in touch with some people who graduated, when I didn't even know them, and they graduated in 62, and their pictures in there. So,
Wow.
and it's nice because you have the pictures of the people, and I know exactly what the old band looked like, and I know what the band was like when I would participated in it. Yeah.
Let's take a trip back again in memory lane. Prom night. Who was the guys that you went with, and what was the style back in '65?
The style was pretty much like you were cool. There were still some leftovers of the long hair thing, not the Beatles type thing, but more like the 50s with the pompadour, and then it was started to be more like a crew cut type of thing, more clean cut. I remember that very, very well. Most of us, I see some pictures of North Catholic at that time. And, when it was raining or something, we all had raincoat, overcoat type things. And we really looked like business people. You really couldn't tell. When you got on the L, people really didn't, unless you were carrying the books, of course, and they saw the red and white book covers. But about that, a lot of people absolutely thought, or I'm sure thought, oh, this guy's going to work. He probably working downtown or that type of thing. So you had that professional look about you, As far as the prom went, we had a big band play. I remember musically, of course, we had a big band play, 5 saxes type of thing, more like the band from the University of the Arts, Philly Pops band. You've seen them, I'm sure, 4th of July playing. More like that, 5 saxophones, 3-4 trombones, 4 trumpets, the 15, 20-piece band. And that was it. And, they played some popular music, but it wasn't like rock or anything like that. It was dance music.
Yeah.
So you could dance a lot of slow tunes. You can dance with your date. Yeah.
So your date, your senior proms, is that person now your wife?
No, it was a friend of my sister's at the time. I wasn't actually going with any girl at that time that I had a steady date. There was I just met her. I'm sure a lot of guys had that. And I remember going, and then one thing that happened was I, went double date with a very good friend of mine I had since elementary school. And he wasn't a music person, but we still kept in touch. We were good friends. And at the dinner, his girlfriend spilled Coke onto my girlfriend's dress. And that didn't go over too well. And needless to say, after that night, I didn't see her or date her again. That was my senior prom.
So back in '65, band guys and then the athletes, who got the chicks? Or as a North Catholic guy, was it equal?
I think it was pretty much equal. I know from that time, he was in my class. Franny Alba was a football player at North and in my class. And I never felt like any animosity, you have that sometimes, people, it's the way they say it. if they say, "Oh, you're in the band," if they do that, I mean, maybe it's a Philly thing with me, but I have respect there, and that type of thing. But no, I didn't think so. I think it was you were North Catholic, and I think they'd stand up for anybody if they were a North man and somebody was harassing them or something or getting around them, ganging up on them. I think they're come to each other's aid. Yeah, yeah. We
So,
were.
how do you think North prepared you for where you are today?
Uh, I think very, very well. As I said, I took the commercial course, knowing that I could still go to college, which worked out well. Uh, but I also took the stenography and I took the typing. Well, of course, typing was great because, today with the computer, I can touch type. When I finally did go to college, I had a lot of courses at Temple. I went to Temple University, and you have a lot of courses you have to take, like art history and really pretty much boring stuff, and you got to take notes. And I would take notes in shorthand, so I had all my notes, and it was it was funny because somebody said, "Hey, did you get the notes from last Tuesday?" Yeah, can I see them? They look at it, say, "What is this?" I said, "Well, that's stenography." What? And I had to explain the whole thing. It wasn't just something the girls took, uh, but it was a neat kind of a thing because Father Cleary would set up a lot of jobs for guys right out of high school. Not that I was one of them, but I know a few guys. He would set them up at a business or something, and because as a stenographer, you would take the notes, and as you stayed there, you would move up the ranks because you knew the ins and outs of the business. So that prepared me pretty well. I think the discipline was good too. I realized you could do pretty much anything. When I went in the Army and guys complained about the discipline there, I thought, hey, you guys, it's the same thing. I had my own drill sergeant. His name was Father Butler. He was disciplined. So it was like they tell you what to do, you do it, and that's it. It doesn't make sense, you don't care, you do it. So in a sense, that prepares you. It prepares you for, like, I guess, the worst. But a lot of the ideals, I was reading through the beginning of my handbook. And boy, they went through a whole philosophy of education at that time. I don't know if they continued that. It was just something that kind of was applicable to the date and time. But it was they pretty much explained everything about life and how you prepare yourself as a gentleman, and you're going to move on. You're going to like basically you're going to grow up someday. You're going to be a man. Here's how you're going to have to handle it.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing I found. North had you come from an elementary school and you have the nuns, and then you go to high school and you got these priests who you get to know. They're regular guys, like a lot of them would, if you gave them some trouble, say, okay, let's go down to the gym, put the boxing gloves on. You think you're a tough guy, and it was like, this guy's like a regular guy,
Yeah.
Think about that. And I often think about, look at where all the guys came from. You came from Frankfurt and Port Richmond, and you could relate to them. And that was something that you could be a holy person. You can be a gentleman and still be, quote unquote, a guy. And if you have to be, you can be a tough guy, and you can be a tough guy in the kind of subjective spirit of knowing what you have to do and sticking with something, no matter what. And I find that in a lot of the graduates, went on.
So, what parish and neighborhood did you grow up in?
I grew up in Port Richmond. I went to St. Adalbert's Parish, or as they
Same
call it.
here.
Yeah, St. Al's. It's almost like one word, St. Al's.
Yeah.
That's true,
So,
yeah.
The direction of intention at North Catholic. Do you remember it?
Yes, absolutely.
Let me hear it.
Absolutely. Let's see if I can do it. I can't do it by memory, but I do. In fact, I have it. I have a picture of it. Somebody had posted it somewhere along the line, and I put it about offering up the class for you. I don't remember exactly. I have to get started on it. Probably have to remember it, but conduct myself in a manner most pleasing to you. I remember the end of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't give out all the words. I'm curious to see which guest has the correct answer. So,
I do have it. Yeah, I do have it. I have to go over to. In fact, I might even have it on my phone here on a picture. I'm just looking to see if I had it in this handbook. My God, I give you this class. Please give me the grace to conduct myself during it in a manner most pleasing to you. There it is in the back of the book. God be blessed.
Amen.
I'll have to post that along with the words to the alma mater that I posted on the other site, the band site, and I posted it on a couple other North Catholic sites. I'll have to post
So
that.
along with some of these, I added a couple of segments to this interviews called North Catholic Trivia. And I
Okay.
have a list of 5 questions, and I have a question picked out for you. It's going to be one of the most basic one, and you can't look. Okay.
Got it.
The question for you is, what is the address of North Catholic?
I'm thinking 1800 Tarzell Avenue.
Very close. Very close.
Ooh.
1842 Tarzo Avenue, to be correct.
Oh, okay. So that's close. I know. All right. 1800 block. They took out most of it. That's a good one. That's a good trivia one.
So at North Catholic, what would have been your fondest memory to you? What stood out the most out of all the years at North?
I think the pride we had. I know the band did very well. We did some, we came out like first or second in most of the band competitions. And that stood out to me. The fact that, we had these people, like I said, they were pretty much all professional musicians and who taught us. And they gave us that look into what it's like to play music. I think that's what drove me. I wanted. In fact, I remember asking one of them, "Do you think I could make it as a musician?" And they looked at me and said, "Yeah, I think so. You keep working, you'll be able to do it." And they gave me just that enough confidence and that boost to follow, what I had in my heart that I really wanted to do. So that's and I said about the JFK thing was probably monumental in the years I was there too. The tribute.
Did you ever have a chance to attend the summer reunions, the Norphans one?
No, I haven't.
If you get a chance, are you familiar with the Norphans?
Oh, sure, yes. I think I'm joined on that group. I'm joined on most of the groups. There's so many of them there. We've got a half a dozen.
I mean, the guys do a great job. Jerry Brindisi, Tommy Cross, and Mike McBride. Bunch of other guys. I mean, they do a fantastic job. And if you haven't had a chance, I'm sure there's plenty of guys from the year you graduated with. And I try to usually post video of it. And definitely have to get out there. Definitely, especially with this past year, having a pandemic. Reason why I kind of took on this little documentary, to bring everybody, back in. But for all the guys that are watching today, guys that you graduated with, do you have any words of advice, words of wisdom, or anything you'd like to say to everybody?
Yeah, I do appreciate seeing names of people I know who, get into these sites, like I say, the different North Catholic sites, and know that they're still around. I know we lost it. Seems like it's the only time I hear about them when somebody passes away from the class or somebody that I know. But it's nice to kind of, know that some people are still around and get a chance to connect with them. Maybe Facebook's good for that, I guess. And I would pretty much encourage anybody to kind of put your name in there. Not that you have to get involved with too much, but at least you know what's going on, and sometimes something will hit and you'll say, yeah, I want to be a bigger part of that, or I can add something to that. As I said, I wish you get somebody who said, yeah, we had an alma mater in the early 50s or something like that. That would really be great, because those people are starting to thin out in ranks, before it's too late to share your story,
Exactly. I mean, this is the perfect time. I mentioned in each video, on YouTube where this will be uploaded. You have some games, basketball, baseball, whatever. But one of the most important things, I mean, sports was great. Don't get me wrong, and band was awesome as well. But the most important things about the school that people don't realize is the memories that North Catholic had.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I did this, to keep the memory alive. So with that being said, you get to notice that North Catholic in 2009 are going to be closing their doors in 2010. What goes through your mind when you hear that?
That's a shame. Makes you feel very sad. You mentioned about the sports and about, I guess, any extracurricular activity, even if you were just the guy who went on stage or something like that. And as Dolan mentioned, the guy with the spear, but even guys I know who really weren't involved in any other, they just came to school, went to class, went home or whatever, had a job, whatever, but still they were exposed to something. They were exposed to something that was very special. After teaching elementary, middle school, and high school myself in a public situation, it wasn't like that. North had something very special in both the way they taught, the subject matter, but I think more importantly, like I said, the word gentleman keeps coming up. Even some of them used that term when they addressed us. They said gentlemen and whatever they were going to tell you, So you got used to that. And I think at that age, that's kind of important because it's almost saying like, you're not in that, you're an adolescent, but they don't call you that. You don't want to be called a kid,
Yeah.
But gentleman is like, you're on your way. You're almost there. Show me that you can, be a man in a true sense of the word that way. And they instilled something in a lot of people. I'm sure some didn't. I remember one guy getting kicked out of North and I saw him a couple weeks later and he said that Frankfurt was just as bad as far as, he said, they smacked me around too. I thought, so it part of that's the time, but in a way, I think it was great because I hate to think what it would be like if they were kind of, who wants to say it, very politically correct today at North Catholic. I think the troops would have overrun the school, know. But they showed you who was boss, and so you went down a peg and listened to a lot of things they said, and to me that gave me more than I got from my 8 years in elementary school. As far as going to mass or something, it took on a different perspective. That you don't have to be the old word was sissy. You don't have to be a sissy because you go to mass every week, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's pretty powerful. And I'm sure if a lot of those priests, if they could hear me say that now, I think they'd be nodding and smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good friend of mine, Bernie Haney, was telling me a lot of times I get some calls from guys about asking different questions. And one of the things that you brought up about guys getting thrown out of North Catholic, curious if this happened in '65 because of the amount of students that North Catholic had. If you were failing or, if you were a discipline problem, a lot of guys got thrown out of school just because of that. Is that correct in your time too?
Yes, it was very much so. And it was, sometimes like in today's world, something just like they were caught smoking and boom, they were gone, I don't know, maybe there was other things going on. It wasn't like somebody was caught robbing a store or something like that, where they were arrested. It was something where they broke the rule of the school basically, and kind of lost a lot of trust. But like I say, most of the guys who left that I knew, they thought they were pretty tough guys and they weren't going to listen to anybody or they would disagree with anybody, that. Yeah. So maybe you can learn the lesson from that,
Yeah, exactly. So out of everything we talked about today, is there anything that I didn't touch base on that you want to bring up, a memory that you want to share?
No, I think I covered most of the heavy stuff, the things that kind of stay with me. Like I said, I get the message out to people to share what they know because a lot of it will be gone with them. Memories, the only good thing about memories, you can pass them on.
Amen.
And if they're gone, and like there once, it's almost like Camelot. There once was a place called North, where these things happened, and these kids from the streets learned something, and they became important. And I know one fellow went on to be a pledge in Washington. Interesting stuff. A lot of them went on to be doctors. I know one fellow went to become a state trooper. I mean, it's crazy stuff, but they made it. I myself, after getting After college, I went, had the draft. I was like number 45, so I had to do something because they were going to take the first 100, and draft them. And I got into a reserve unit, but I was going to get into the band, but they didn't have a slot. And so I was trained as an infantry and AIT, and at Fort Polk. And then I got transferred into the band, and that's why I spent 20 years in a reserve band over at Willow Grove. So it had that, kind of with me too. Again, stemming from what I know from music, stemming from what I had at North Catholic, it all carried me through to the point where I retired with 20 years there, and I did 34 and a half years in teaching and retired in 2006. Oh my God.
So what rank did you reach in the military?
I was a sergeant first class in E7. Yeah. So I was pretty much like the enlisted band leader. We had a warrant officer who was basically in charge, did the pay and that sort of thing. And I worked my way up to do that. But I played all the instruments that I played, flute, clarinet, saxophone, flute, and clarinet. And, I enjoyed it. Musicians will play for nothing. And here, you go for a weekend and they pay you for it, which was really, so, and in the military. So it worked out.
For all the guys, the band guys who are watching this, be prepared. I kind of caught Frank off guard. I asked him to play me a tune. So for all these guys out there watching this, practice the alma mater, because I'm sure all the guys at North Catholic want to hear it. And it's been a while. It's been I think every summer we hear the alma mater being played. So everybody would be psyched to hear that.
Yeah, I tried to find out to get the arrangement of the music so I can get the whole, make the band, get a group together, and so we can sound like, the whole band with all the parts. But it seems to be lost when North closed down. So I still know the latest band director who was there. He's over at in Lansdale Catholic now, and get a chance to talk with him and see if he can find something for me. Last I heard, he says, no, I don't know where it went. I don't have anything left. I didn't take anything with me. So I don't know, but we have our memory of that too. So everybody can play the melody, at least of it,
That's all we need to do.
That's right.
Frank, I want to thank you for taking your time out on a Wednesday night away from your family to talk about your memories at North Catholic. It's been an honor and a pleasure to meet a gentleman, fellow Falcon that I've never met before in my life. And it was truly a pleasure to hear your stories about North Catholic.
Thanks a lot, John. I appreciate it. And thank you for all you do.
Yep. Anytime. Listen, stay safe. And again, if you get a chance, I believe it's the last weekend in July, get that ticket, come down, we'll buy you a beer.
All right. Sounds good.
Take care, Frank.
All right. You too.